What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back. Hope you like this video. This is going to be Ayanla Fix My Life season 7 episode 2. Now I don't know how that last week was season 7 episode 3 and now we on season 7 episode 1. I guess they just was trying to start off with a blockbuster. They wanted to play the Shade episode first so that, to try to, stir it up or whatever, because I was a little confused last week because I was trying to figure out, well, how the hell did we get to episode 3? Anyway, neither here nor there. So this week we are dealing with a family that is a non-celebrity, okay? And we have a mother. Now she is the mother of 8. So the first thing that struck me as weird is that she has 8 children, yet only 3 were on the show. We had her Alpha and her Omega. We had the oldest and we had the youngest, and we had one of her daughters. Now in the intro they said that 2 of her daughters are pregnant. Sort of seem like they're sort of following the pattern of children, because the daughter we met is on her second child and she's 20, I believe, and she's on her second child. The one thing that struck me in all of this is that the mother seems to be very aware. The daughter seems to be very aware. Like, they're very aware of their shortcomings. I just don't think they know what to do next. Like, I know I screwed up. I just don't know how to fix it. Her complaint, the mother wrote the show, the mother wanted to go on the show, and the mother's complaint was basically her kids are out of control, they're not respecting me, and how do I make that happen? Or how did we get here? How do I fix it? And what was interesting is that we got to the end, and the mother sort of understood at the end what she did to create what she created with her children. And what it was that she said, and I love the way she said it, I'm paraphrasing, but she basically said, I surrendered my authority as a parent to become their friend. And so she's aware of what she did. I don't think she understands why she made those decisions, and I don't think she knows how to fix it. And I still don't necessarily think she walked away getting those tools, if you really want me to be honest. The other thing that struck me with this episode, and this, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I said this, if you guys go back and look at some of my other reviews of Ayanla, I've said this before, the saddest thing that I always seem to walk away from when I look at Ayanla, when we talk about these dysfunctional families, is how much violation takes place in these homes. The mother, at a certain point, wanted to speak to Ayanla with the producer, and she said, I've got something to tell you, but I don't want to say it on camera. And Ayanla told her, well, you don't get that luxury. Basically, she said, you signed up for this. I picked you. You're going to tell your story. And I guess this goes to show how jaded I am. Because she told it, and basically she talked about the fact that she was violated, she was molested, she was sexually assaulted from the age of 12. And I was sitting here going, oh, that's it? Not that it's not traumatic, not that it's not serious or important, but I've heard that so much when we are looking at these families and we're dissecting these families and we're really breaking down how the families became dysfunctional. Molestation, sexual assault always seems to be there. It just always seems to be a part of it. So when she made this grand announcement, I caught myself, but I was like, oh, that's it? Okay. Because I had pretty much assumed that. I mean, here's a woman with 8 children. The biggest thing is that she basically abandoned her kids. She was in abusive relationships. She had a man that beat her to the point where her kids remember her getting beat. He was a drug dealer in and out of jail. One child remembers that, that he was so possessive that when he went out to sell drugs, she had to go with him. And one child remembers jumping on his back to try to stop him from beating her. So I'm listening to all of this and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I figured somewhere along the line there was some sort of sexual assault, because it just always seems it's like a recipe for a dysfunctional family, and that's just a sad thing. So like I said, the mother, she left the kids. The oldest child was 12, he said, when it happened. And so of course him and the mom had a one-on-one situation, and he spoke to how he felt, how that made him feel, the abandonment. And the oldest son was like, nah, she coming back, 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 and of course she eventually came back, but not when he thought or wanted her to come back. And he was so cut off emotionally that not only did he not cry through that whole process, but at the end, Ayanla was like, hug your son, and of course, get in that bosom, get in that bosom. He wouldn't even hug her back. He didn't even hug her back. And I just remember thinking, wow, you can't even embrace your mom. Even in the midst of her apology, because that's what she was doing, was apologizing, right? So even in the midst of her apology, you can't embrace your mom. And I just thought that was interesting. The daughter's biggest thing is she doesn't want to follow in her mom's footsteps. She looks at her mother and how her mother has dealt in relationships and looks to do the opposite. Like, that's what she wants us to do, the opposite. And I'm thinking, wow, like you are that aware to understand that, but not aware enough to stop it, because you're now pregnant with your second child. And the daughter she just seemed so sad. Everything with her was so monotone. Her affect was so flat. And I'm almost wondering if the girl is depressed. I mean, it was just, she had no emotion throughout any of this. None. No emotion. Then we had the youngest brother, who is 17, and he's a jerk. He's an ass. He's he's always in trouble. He said that he's probably on his way to jail. He already, doing drugs, probably smoking weed and stuff. He had a little chip on his shoulder, but we at least got a smile out of him at one point. We got something from him, more than we got from the daughter. And I'm looking at the son, and I'm like, I'm getting ahead of myself, child. Then we have her husband. Now, this woman is married to a 31-year-old man. And one thing that Ayanla said was, she said something about putting his foot down and taking some authority. And she said, your 31-year-old husband cannot parent your 27-year-old son. Your oldest child is 27. You are married to a 31-year-old. And then we find out that their relationship is dysfunctional, that she talks to him crazy, she talks to him any kind of way. And he told her, after, Ayanla made them separate and do their journaling, and of course she was peddling her books, honey. They had to read her books, honey. But she said, he self-reflected, and he told her, he said, listen, if you continue to treat me the way you're treating me, it's not going to be good for me and my mental health. And either I'm going to have to remove myself from this situation, or it's going to break me down. And she said, Ayanla said, are you listening to him? Are you hearing him? And she said, yeah. She said, but when I've stepped back and I've allowed you to be the man and put your foot down and be the man, you didn't do what the man needed to do, and I needed to step up. The lights got cut off. The water got cut off. And then I had to step up and do what I had to do as the woman. And Ayanla said, but here's what you need to learn how to do. When the lights get cut off, buy candles. But you let him be a man. And I remember my mother always telling me, you got to let a man be a man. And to me, it sort of goes along with that mindset. You got to let a man be a man. You got to let a man be a man. And some people might say, oh, hell no, I ain't going to let my lights get cut off. Okay, that's cool. But, in this situation, you got to let a man be a man. They had they had the one-on-one session with the oldest son, and then they had a session with the daughter and the youngest son. And like I said, the youngest son, he's angry, and he said something very interesting. He said, well, when she left, I thought of all of her kids, she would have took me. I was the baby. I was her baby boy. So in his mind, it was cool if she left the other 7 kids, just not him. And he just can't believe that she left him. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you got some shit. You got some shit. In the end, they all had to express their grievances. And I thought the most interesting grievance was that the son had a grievance with the husband, basically telling him to step up, treat his mother right, do a better job of taking care of his mom. Now, I don't think what he said was wrong. I think his tone and his manner in which he said it was wrong. And that's what Iyanla was trying to get him to understand. But see, here's a little bit of my beef with Iyanla. When you were talking to him one-on-one and he called himself the man of the family, the man of the house, you sort of laughed it off and you didn't really address it. And I was sitting here thinking, that's part of the problem. He thinks he's the man of the house. He thinks he's running something. Boy, you are 17 years old. You ain't running shit. Okay? But when he said it later on in the episode, then Iyanla was like, you're not the father. You're not the head of this house. You're not the adult. You're not a man. You are 17. You're a young adult. But you're not the man. You're not a man. And I think that's part of the problem, is that he thinks he is. But I do realize, and maybe this is where Iyanla is coming from, listen, I ain't going to undo. He's 17. I can't undo everything today. And they've clearly allowed him to think and run the house like he a man. Now, she checked him. I ain't saying she didn't check him. But I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like she could have checked him when he first said it. But then I don't want to say stepfather, because hell, stepfather. But her husband, he in turn said the same thing. He said, listen, it's not even always, it's the respect. It's the lack of respect from you, And the mother said the same thing. The mother said a lot of the same thing too, about the respect factor, and how he speaks to her and him, really, to both of them. I don't know if any of that got resolved. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really think that because again, I think this is another example of the mother coming on there thinking that Iyanla was gonna get on all her kids about their disrespect and why would they treat her this way and why they talk to her a certain kind of way. I think she went with different intentions, and once again, Iyanla sort of put it back on her and was like, hold up, the kids didn't get here by themselves. What did you do? And the one thing Iyanla kept saying was, I'm not getting the whole story. And she wasn't. They always would say, well, when you've been through what I've been through, or when you went through what we went through. And she asked the youngest son, she said, listen, y'all keep talking in these abstract, what happened? What specifically happened that I need to know about? What specifically went down that we need to be mindful of? What is it? And he said, I mean, just whatever you can imagine. Anything you can imagine that could happen, happen. Well, what the hell does that mean? Anybody, kids growing up in the ghetto. Anything that you could imagine that happened to kids growing up in the ghetto happened. Do what? Anything that you could imagine that happened to kids growing up in the ghetto is what happened to us. Wow. I mean, that's an A to Z situation. And I think that, again, I don't know if Iyanla's checked out this season because it's her last season. I don't know if they did get a lot of that, but they chose not to show it because maybe it got a little too deep. But I just feel like she let them off the hook real easy. Because I feel like she kept saying, I'm not getting the whole story, I'm not getting the whole story, I'm not getting the whole story. And I just feel like at the end, we never got the whole story. We never got the whole story, in my opinion. And that's why I don't think that... I think the only thing that I think the oldest son got what he needed as far as the apology and the explanation from the mom. Because she admitted that it was about a man. And that it wasn't... Because they told... His whole life, they told him it was about... She left them for a job opportunity, and they knew that was a lie. And so he got that clarity. He got that apology. He got that. I don't think the daughter walked away with nothing that she needed. I mean, that's just my opinion. And the youngest son, I don't think he walked away with nothing he needed, child. I don't think he got nothing. Now, the husband, I think, got some good stuff. Whether he chooses to stay with her or not, I think he walked away with something. But as a whole, I don't know. I think they need a part two. Well, not so much a part two to be filmed, but they definitely need to continue therapy. And I do know that anybody that Iyanla brings on the show, she does set them up with resources in their home to continue whatever process she started. Like, she doesn't just leave them hanging. But baby, they need. But I really think the fact that only 3 of the kids out of 8 showed up, that's a problem for me. Because I feel like if we had even the majority of her kids, I feel like we would have got maybe more of the story. But when we only have the oldest, the youngest, and there's such a we were talking about a 10-year age difference between the oldest and the youngest, and then you got 6 kids in between. That's a whole lot of churn. That's a whole lot of conflict. It's a whole lot of something that's missing. Anyway, I don't know, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.